Hey everybody, Steve here in Fresno, California on a very overcast and smoky day. In fact, it's so smoky out I feel like I'm in the middle of a forest fire and my clothes smell like smoke. We're in the Northern California fires have been burning all summer long, so I thought it was pretty safe to come up here now, assuming that all of the fires have been put out. But apparently I was wrong. I guess they must still be burning. It's pretty bad. So if my eyes are red, it's because not only because of allergies, but also because of all the smoke in the air, which is also not so great to breathe as well. So I'm here at Belmont Memorial Park in Fresno, and I'm here all the way at the very back of the cemetery at block 33. And the reason I'm here is because I called the cemetery yesterday knowing that I was coming up here to ask for directions to Karen Pendelton's gravesite. You may remember her as Karen, one of the original Mouseketeers on Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse Club back in the 1950s. If you're a baby boomer like me, you probably remember the show. And you probably remember Karen as well. Now, I hadn't kept up with her over the years, so I didn't know what happened to her after the show ended. But before coming here, I wanted to do a little research and find out what she had done with her life, since I hadn't really seen her since the Mouseketeers and the Mickey Mouse Club TV show back in the 1950s. And sadly, I discovered that in 1983, she had been in an auto accident and was left paralyzed from the waist down. She did go on to live a long life, so I hope it was a happy one. She died from a heart attack on October 6th, 2019, at the age of 73. So that was 2 years ago. And it's interesting because the woman I spoke to in the office here yesterday said she knew exactly who I was asking for. When I said I needed help finding the gravesite of Karen Pendleton, she said, "Oh, yeah. She goes, I know exactly where she's laid to rest. In fact, I thought she said her headstone was just recently placed." So I was pretty excited to come and see her headstone and share it with all of you. Maybe she meant her little green marker plaque was just recently placed, but it looks like it's been here for a while. Now, maybe if it was placed a couple of weeks ago and it's been rainy and windy and, the debris from all the trees and maybe the water, maybe it just made it look like it's been there a while, even though it's only been there for a week or two. Who knows? But it's also kind of funny because you may remember that earlier in the year, I stopped by this cemetery for the first time to visit the gravesite of Richard Kyle, or Richard Keel, who played Jaws in one of the 007 movies. Remember that video? If you didn't watch it, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description section down below so you can watch that video. But the reason I mention it is because he's laid to rest not too far from her, not too far from Karen, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know she was here at the time. And he also only has one of those little green markers that has his name on it, but no headstone. So I just assumed that maybe he's waiting until I think he was married, and I assume that maybe, when the time comes, his wife will place a plaque for the two of them together. I don't know. As far as Karen Pendleton, it's hard to say. It looks like she's buried in between her parents, and it's been 2 years, so it's a little surprising there's no headstone because, in fact, there are 3 Pendleton family members laid to rest there, and the other 3 all have headstones. So hopefully it's not just an issue of money. And I always find it interesting because the burial is usually the most expensive part. The headstones are usually not that expensive. From what I've heard, they can just be a few $100s. So I guess it depends on the type and maybe the place. And maybe I'm wrong. You can let me know in the comments section if I am wrong. But I've always been under the assumption that headstones are only a few hundred, maybe $500. So that seems pretty affordable, I think, for most people, or for a lot of people. So if any of you happen to know why she doesn't have a headstone yet, again, share with us. And if it is a money issue, again, maybe fans will help raise the money for her family to place a headstone. Again, I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't even know how you go about that, but I'm assuming she probably has a web page or a Facebook page, or maybe there's a Mickey Mouse Club Facebook fan page. So hopefully someone who knows why she doesn't have a headstone yet after 2 years will be able to look into that. And if someone does place a headstone, please let me know and I'll come back again and visit sometime in the future. Well, I see a little cat over here and I see a little chipmunk. Or maybe that's a squirrel. I can never tell the difference between a chipmunk and a squirrel, but chipmunk sounds a lot cuter and a lot more fun, right, than a squirrel. Why did the chipmunk cross the road? You know, to get to the other side, right? Yeah, there's a lot more flowers over there, but I think these the wildlife here is probably a little bit more disappointed because most of these flowers are plastic. I know in a lot of the cemeteries they have real flowers, and the deer just love to eat the very colorful flowers. Must be dessert or something for the deer. But here, all they would get is a mouthful of plastic, I think, at most of these grave sites. This week, I want to thank my newest Patreon supporter, Deanna Hughes. Thank you, Deanna, for your very kind donation to my channel. It means a lot. So until our next trip to the cemetery together, thanks for sharing the memories, everybody.